back to the cast. It's our name now. This is Colorado Kayak Fishing Club podcast. We're on episode 3 already, and today we have Ronnie Romero. Everyone knows probably in the club, also from Romero Insurance Agency, one of our platinum sponsors this year. Welcome, Ronnie.
Hey, how's it going, Matt?
It's going great. So this show today, it's the most exciting show of the year. We're going to talk about safety and insurance. No, probably not the most exciting, but thanks for coming on, Ronnie. One of my favorite people that I've met in Colorado in the last year I've been here. And probably the most important show we can talk about preseason as we're getting ready for the year. Just some things to think about. 2022 was the most deadly year on the water in Colorado for recreation-related deaths. They had almost 40 of them. 34 were drownings. I think some were hypothermia. And sadly, a lot of it is completely preventable. So we'll get into that. But Ronnie, hey, first off, why don't you just tell us about yourself and what brought you to the club, how you got into fishing, and get into it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. First off, let's see, I've been kind of grew up fishing all my life. I kind of grew up as a power bait dunker from shore when I was a kid, and then I think I just saw it on Facebook. I saw the kayak club, and I went and bought a little cheap paddle kayak, and I did one tournament in Pueblo like 6 or 7 years ago, which seems like forever. I fished a couple of them over the next couple of years, but wasn't really competitive. But the more people I met and kind of getting meeting some of the people that really compete and kind of following what they do, I upgraded my kayak and started spending more time pre-fishing and kind of actually learning. And now I'm kind of all in. Once I did the sponsor manager for a couple of years and being on the board, it just had a blast and love watching the club give back. That's a big part of how I like to handle things in my business as well. And just giving back's a great thing. And if I can fish and have an excuse to fish more, be in tournaments, it's just kind of tops it off. So fished almost every tournament for the last, I think, 3 years. This year I'll probably focus mainly on the multi-species tournaments. Just because it seems to be more enjoyable for me, at least in Colorado. But some of those national tournaments I might jump into on the bass side.
Awesome. And we can confirm that Ronnie is done ice fishing for the year.
I am done ice fishing. I went one time yesterday, which I did not plan on, and it did not go well. And yeah, I'm gonna hang it up today, and I'm gonna get that kayak out. And we're a month from John Martin, and I took second in John Martin last year, which was the best finish I've had in a CKFC tournament. And I got Paul Roth at the end, which still stings a little bit, but yeah. I kind of brought that on myself. But it's an awesome lake. I love that lake, and now that they changed up the multi-species a little bit and added drum, I think it just adds a new dynamic that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I don't know if you saw that, but yeah, drum being on there, you caught probably like the state record, but we didn't even measure it last year. So
I looked back. It was really close. I think it was like 29 or 30 inches, and I looked back. The state record's 31.
Okay.
Well, on length, it was like 17 pounds. It was close. I mean, the thing was a tank. It was so fun. I just wish it was a wiper, but
I know.
But this year it could change again. And I caught so many drum last year. I mean, so many drum. So hopefully we don't have the cold front that we did last year, because we had that cold front, but I still caught like 60 fish. And I mean, pre-fishing, you and I caught 30-some crappie from the shore. I mean, it can be a very productive lake early on, and it's a lot of fun.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. Well, cool. Let's get into the safety equipment. First, I want to just kind of go over, hey, what do we require as a club? So I scrubbed our rules and looked over that. There's a few things that you have to have on you to be legal for the club. And the first, obviously, is a personal flotation device, or a PFD. There's 2 types, really, that are out there. There's the old school, this is one of the NRS ones. This goes all the way around, and it's going to float you all the time. And then there's the inflatable ones. They're both Coast Guard approved. So they are both legal. But something to understand on these inflatable ones is that that little cartridge in there, it's like a CO2 cartridge. That does have a shelf life on it. So if you're going to rock those, just make sure that that it's current, that it's good to go. And you can pick those up at Shields. I know they're one of our sponsors on here that sells them. So the next thing that you need is a signaling whistle, and it's got to be on your jacket if it's on your boat, and it's not accessible. It does no good if you go in the water. So I just keep mine right up here. It's a little carabiner. It doesn't get in the way at all. Got a whistle on there. I'm good to go. And then lastly, since we're launching in the mornings, you need a 360 light or a white light. This is a 360 light from Yak Attack, again, one of our sponsors. But hey, it's super easy. You get on the water, give it a twist, and it pops right on. And then, once it's light out, you turn it off. I think it's just a AA or AAA or something. So, but those are our requirements for the club for what you need to be legal on the water. The next thing, obviously, we've got to follow the state laws. So fishing licenses, this is another reminder that, hey, April 1st is coming up. And I still got to get mine, but get your fishing licenses. April 1st is when yours is going to expire, I guess the day before. But then state parks pass too. If I know Colorado's got a new thing with their driver's license, if you are a resident. But if you need your parks pass, you got that for the season. Do you have the license, Ronnie?
The license?
Right.
It's actually with your registration.
Okay.
I don't. Mine hasn't renewed yet for the year. I need to look into that because my parks pass expires in June, so I need to see when my truck registration is over, because that might just take it over. But it's definitely going to be a unique year for those. Yeah. So another thing to think about is most of our tournaments are at state parks. So I think it's like $10 a day if you don't buy a season pass, and it's like $80 for the season. Something like that
for the year, something like that. So something to look into. We do have a tournament that's at outside of the state, and you'll need to get a pass for that. It's up at Horsetooth, but if it's not a state park, you are required to still get your parking pass up there to be legal for the tournament. And then the next thing that we need is, since we got the insurance man here, he knows all about it, a waiver, liability waivers. So for all of the adults this year, which is most of the competitors, when you go to TourneyX and you sign up for the club, there'll be a waiver PDF right there that you can read. You'll acknowledge the terms to it by just checking a block, and then you submit that. If you do have a minor, you still need to fill out the form from the website. So TourneyX, we've been using that app for years now. It's awesome. We have check-in and check-out times on there. That just gives us the safety of knowing, hey, you're still in the water or you're not, if there's a problem finding you. And another thing that they added on TourneyX this year, which I think is pretty cool, you'll actually put like what type of kayak you have on there. So like, let's say that we had to do search and rescue. They know that you have like a blue Hobie or a blue native, whatever. So that's on there. It's pretty cool. And then Ronnie, you probably know all about weather here.
Yeah, and just one thing to add on that vessel type, because I don't think we have it on the rest of it, but on safety features, make sure you have your name and phone number, some sort of contact information on your kayak. It's supposed to be somewhere, waterproof. I think most of us just kind of open one of the hatches and write it in a, silver Sharpie or something off color that you can see. I think I just have my name and cell phone number on there, but in a catastrophic situation, if someone, finds your kayak, at least they know who they're looking for.
Yeah, dude, that's a great idea. I don't have that on mine. Cool. Yeah, so let's get into weather. I've got an app to show here, but if it gets too dangerous on the weather, we'll make a safety call. Typically, that'll come out. We like to give as much notice as possible. So if it looks like 2 days, 3 days out that it's going to be just completely terrible weather, we'll postpone it. I know that the board did that last year for one. Not a big deal. We'll get it rescheduled when we can, and it'll work out because safety is number one. But yeah, if there's bad weather, just look at that and understand it. Know what you're getting into, because a lot of these places, it kind of comes out of nowhere, especially as we get up to like Spinney and 11 Mile, up in the mountains there. Um, the mountain weather is intense, and that wind will just come out of nowhere. We had someone flipped out of a kayak last year, ended up catching a treble hook in their hand, and I think Alex is the one that popped that out for him. But
yeah, I was there for
that. Yeah, I mean, hey, had all of our safety stuff on, good to go. It was a significant event, but not as significant as it definitely could have been. We popped it out and fished the next day, so it was all good. But all right, so some safety considerations for this. Kind of breezing through these, and then we'll get to the meat of the topic here, which is the insurance piece. But alcohol. So there's no alcohol from launch to lines out. It's an instant DQ, and then you have to follow obviously any state laws that are on there as well. As far as limits and tolerances and stuff. Wind. Let's talk about that just a little bit more. So I've got a screen to share here. This is an app that I use. It's called Windy. I'll hop over to the other screen and actually activate it. But what I like about it, you can you're not sponsored or anything. I just use them. But let's see, I think it's showing there. So this app, you can show wind, rain, anything like that. But this is just over the middle of Pueblo Reservoir, and you can see where the wind's coming from. And if you play it during the hourly, you'll see where it's actually shifting around for and the patterns that you're looking for, the intensity. I know my limits for the wind of where I'm comfortable being on the water. Recommend everybody find that for themselves. But yeah, this will change throughout the day. I think it's just, I've had it pegged up here, but you'll actually see the winds swirling around, and it's actually a really good like pre-fishing tool too, because you can kind of plan out for the next couple of days where your wind's coming from.
Yeah, I use Windy as well. I use a few different ones just to kind of confirm. But Windy has been pretty accurate, and there's a lot of weather stations kind of in the, even like at 11 Mile, there's you can put a pin right there and it'll give you a fairly accurate, wind reading. And it's kind of nice to plan. I mean, most of those winds are going to come out of the west. They're fairly predictable, at least on direction.
Yep.
So if you're launching on a certain side, you want to make sure in the afternoon that it's at least blowing you into shore, because it can make a terrible afternoon. And even getting to the, I mean, I've seen people where they couldn't get back to the side they were on, had to go all the way across, beg for a ride back to their truck, and by then they didn't get their pictures uploaded or didn't get any of that done, and it can end up for a bad afternoon.
Yeah, and I guess another tip. So if the wind picks up, that's one thing, but you also have other things that are going to cause wakes and stuff on the water, and primarily. Some of these lakes, there's a lot of pleasure boaters out there, jet skis, other people fishing. How do you handle that when a wake comes to you? Because it's going to happen.
Yeah, hopefully it's coming and you don't have a fish on and dealing with that, because there's a lot of factors that come into play. Where I had a nice fish on at Horsetooth once, and I got hit from a wake from both sides. And it just kind of came out from under me and dropped me. And I didn't lose anything, but it definitely shifted a bunch of stuff around on my kayak, and scared the crap out of me. And I did land the fish, but it's something to consider. On Pueblo, a lot of us take advantage of weekdays to pre-fish and just recreational fish, and there's a lot less of that out there. Well, tournaments are on weekends, so you can't avoid it. I mean, granted, we're done by 2, so a lot of that doesn't happen until a little later. But those midsummer months, when it's most active, I take advantage of no wake zones a lot. I mean, I'll plan my day and I'll go hit those spots where they're outside of no wake. I'll hit those a lot first thing. And then as the activity, ramps up or the fishing is down, I'll go hit my secondary spots that are typically in no wake zones. Just, it makes it a more pleasurable experience for me regardless. And I think a safer one.
Yeah. And let's say you're fishing on a main channel point, or it just happens. Someone comes up to you. I think a lot of times boaters out there think that, hey, if I slow down right in front of this guy on the kayak, it's actually going to be better for them. It's a courtesy thing. And
Yeah.
it's the opposite. You know, if they're high
Yeah. They
planing
throw that
past
big
you,
weight. Yeah.
it's not a big deal if they're flying 70 miles an hour past us. But as soon as they slow down and stop right in front of us, that big wake it's going to come. One of the things I found is I got this from just being down in Florida before in the Gulf is if a big wave's coming at you, I like to face into the wave, let it break on the front of the kayak. Got a lot better chance that it's just going to water's going to come over, but it's not going to roll my kayak over. So you're not going to get into a situation where um, you're getting thrown out of the kayak or you're going to roll it over. Worst case. So is that the same on
Yeah.
yours?
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, if you take it on the side, I mean, they're pretty. I'm in a native Slayer, Slayer Max, and it's pretty stable. I've never had a close call, knock on wood, but I do like to take those right off the front as well. Um, and I definitely sit down when those are coming.
Yep. Another thing is the next thing to talk about was just cold and wet weather. It's going to happen. I know it rained and it was like 40 degrees at Boyd last year. It was miserable, but yeah, just have that stuff on you. Have the number for somebody in case you need to call somebody. Always help you out. Another thing I ran into last year is mechanical failures. So
Yeah, so
I've got a 360 drive on my Hobie, and I'm on number 3 or 4 of that drive right now. So have a paddle on you. You know, if you only have a pedal drive and you have something go wrong with it, especially with the winds we just talked about, you don't want to be stuck out there. It is your responsibility to take care of yourself out there. So have a paddle, have a backup to get to shore. If you need help, sure, call somebody. Someone's going to help you, but at least take that diligence to be prepared if something happens. And then check your equipment. You know what your weight limits are on your equipment. A lot of times, like I just added some stuff to mine, and start adding all these graphs and batteries and trolling motors. We don't have in tournaments. People are getting close to maxing out these weight capacities on these things. So know what that is. Check your drain plugs, looks for cracks, anything like that, and just be ready when you're out there. And then lastly, your phone. Have a good tether for your phone. I always have mine tethered onto me. One, you need it for submitting your fish, which is probably extremely important, but most importantly for safety. If something does happen, you can call a tournament director or anybody out there, and we'll help take care of you. So,
yeah, just to touch on a couple of those things, from some of the experiences I've had at Truman last year. Truman, it rained one of the entire days, and I'd never really had to deal with it in Colorado, but I'm sure it'll happen at some point where we'll get that kind of precip. And there's some kind of tricks to getting that water out of your kayak, and I feel like if I didn't know some of those, I mean, the anxiety and stress level could have really jumped up if I didn't know what I was doing and my boat was filling with water. But
yeah.
I always keep a sponge in my boat, and I actually use it under my drive during travel if I leave it on there, just to kind of be a shock absorber and not banging against my boat. But even if I have like a larger towel that I'm using to dry my hands or whatever, but to soak up that water and bail out water, extremely handy. And then there's some other little tricks, like I keep all my my plugs in. Well, when it was filling with water, how do you get it out without bailing it? And you really couldn't bail it fast enough. So, but if you pull a plug and then tilt your kayak one way, and that it all goes down that hole as soon as you get to where it's safe, and then you plug it, and a bunch of water. I mean, you can really clear it out in a hurry that way. So, some of those little tricks, especially, like I said, if you're in a really bad weather situation, you're starting to get stressed out. Like, am I going to make it back? Like, if you know some of those things, it's easy to be calm and kind of react, and some of those things can really save you in a bad situation.
Yeah. Are you talking like your front scupper holes?
Yeah, my scupper plugs. Yeah, not my back drain plugs, but those scupper plugs. And I mean, they make some of the 2-way or 1-ways now, I think.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so it'll only let it through.
I've seen them aftermarket. I don't know anyone that has them. If someone does, kind of reach out to the club, because I saw some online where the water will only go down, it won't come up, and so you can put those in. Like I said, I've seen them. They all seem to be kind of aftermarket products that I just don't know much about.
Yeah, that's cool. Another thing is just a You have to take water on. A sponge is a great option.
Yeah.
If you take a ton of water on, then actually having just like a hand pump to get that water out of the hole. That's if you're taking it, into your actual hole of your kayak there. But at least have a sponge for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the products we need. Talked about the rules that we need or that we have to follow. Let's get into the insurance aspect. I reached out to you over this winter, added a few things to the kayak, and actually we kind of switched everything, the house and cars. But I was like, hey, I don't know if this is something that we can even do, but like my kayak, I got enough into it now, or I'm like, if I lost that, I'd like to have it insured. So yeah, we talked about it, and I had no clue we could do it, but we went for it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's kind of a lesser known product when it comes to kayaks. But I mean, your kayak's a boat. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's just a boat that most of them don't have a motor. But first off, thanks for letting me sponsor. Big shout out to Justin Aller, who's a big sponsor for many years of CKFC, and um, did allow me to kind of take the torch here and kind of move on with it, which is great because I love being able to participate in the club, and being able to be on the donation side was a big deal for me. Insurance side, again, it is possible. It's extremely inexpensive. You don't have to have all of your insurance. Like if you just wanted to do a kayak with us, you could totally do that, and it's super cheap. Not all carriers offer it, but if you want to ask your carrier first and see if they do, that's great. Just be aware of how some of the small things are covered, especially when it comes to tournaments. State Farm's real conservative when it comes to like tournament fishing. So you can add even a rider on your policy that will cover the fees. And now our fees aren't enough in the CKFC to worry about. But um, again, the policy is a boat policy. So I mean, you could be a professional, bass fisherman paying thousands of dollars for entry fees. That's where something like that would come into play. But if you got that, if you have that quote
yeah,
available, kind of ran just a sample quote so you guys can see kind of what the numbers look like. So this is just if you did a $5,000 kayak. So just so you can see what it is on the high end. $1,000 medical payments is just the default minimum. You can bump that up to 10,000, and it doesn't cost a whole lot. But that's really for injuries sustained in a kayak accident. Which, if you don't have health insurance or something, you'd probably want to bump that up just to make sure you've got some coverage there. Watercraft liability, that's unlikely to come into play on a kayak, but it costs almost nothing. So we'll typically have at least 300,000 on there. But that's if, especially you guys that are adding motors, if you guys were to run into something or someone and cause damage, that's what would come into play. And then personal property coverage is kind of everything that you're going to have on there. So your life vest, your fishing gear, your tackle, your sonar, all of that stuff that could be stolen or damaged in a kayak accident. So that's probably a conservative amount for most people. If you had 5,000 for the kayak itself and 3,000 personal property, all that stuff comes down to $850 a month. So, and I think that deductible is $50 on there. So
yeah,
that's the other thing too. People are like, why would I do that when I'm just going to have $1,000 deductible? I still got to pay $1,000. I'm like, you don't. It's $50, and in this scenario, leave your kayak in the parking lot at a hotel, in between tournaments, and unfortunately someone steals your entire vehicle or just your kayak, you pay $50 and we get you a new one. So
yeah.
great
That's
protection to have.
yeah. That's probably even more so than being on the water. Gosh,
Yeah.
if someone just took it, that'd be something too.
Yeah.
But like a lot of times, you're camping out with it.
Yeah, definitely more likely. I mean, when I think Boyd and Horsetooth are the only tournaments where I've stayed in hotels. A lot of the guys, even at Trinidad, they'll stay in hotels. And I mean, the likelihood of someone stealing, I think people that are stealing stuff out of cars and parking lots of hotels are stealing stuff that's small.
Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna need two guys to take most of our kayaks, and what are you gonna do with it? I mean, they have serial numbers. I mean, you got to find someone that's willing to pay for this giant piece of plastic that is a
yeah,
very unique thing. But um, I mean, when I stayed at hotels, I took my scupper plug out and I ran a chain through the scupper plug and chained it to my truck. And all I could think about though when I was sleeping was like, someone's gonna try and steal it and not realize that's there, and they're just gonna be yanking it all over the place trying to get that thing out. But fortunately, I've never had to deal with it. But it is a more of a concern to me than being on the water most of the time when I'm in control of it.
Yeah, I do the same thing at hotels, and you know, not so much like where we fish, but if I'm going to go out of state, um, stop
Yeah.
somewhere, I'll at least run like a bike lock through it. Um, Same way that you're talking about. Try to go through the actual hole of the kayak and not the just like a rail or something. But
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least a
Something that
deterrent.
they can't unscrew. Yeah.
Yeah, at least some sort of deterrent there. So
Yeah. A lot of time that's all it takes. I mean, they're typically, unfortunately, I have to deal with a ton of stolen vehicles and theft claims. Yeah, way too often. But it's typically the quick stuff. I mean, it's a broken window and anything that's just sitting on there. Half the time they don't even open glove boxes and center consoles. It's just if they can see it and it's not attached to anything, they're gonna snag it. And like I said, these kayaks, as valuable as they are to us, most people have no clue what they're worth. So
yeah,
I mean, you're more likely to get it stolen probably by another kayak angler, which that's not going to happen either if they fish in tournaments. Because one, I mean, the people that do this are not that kind of people, and two, we're going to recognize that boat. It's
yeah,
a little different,
yeah,
um, but yeah, I think the risk is limited, but the cost is too. So it's just one of those things. It's one of those things that if you don't have it, you'll wish you did, but if you have it, you'll hope you never need it.
yep, absolutely. And $8.50.
And that's
And
for a lot. I think the minimum. I want to say the minimum is $80 a year. So if you were, doing something smaller, $3,000 boat, you're probably going to be closer to $80 a year. And you can pay them in full or per month. There's no fees or anything. So it says
yeah,
service charge not included on there. Some states have added service charges. We don't. So there's no discounts or fees associated with our billing either. So it makes it kind of easy.
so for the low price of roughly 2 flicker shads a month, you can have your kayak kayak
I don't know what
insurance.
those are. Is that like an anchor or something?
Yeah. Oh man. But no, like as much as especially like this time of year, everyone's rigging up their stuff, getting excited, buying whatever wazoo stuff is out there, whether they're putting on forward facing or tinkering out motors or just getting into it and rigging it up. And yeah, $8, that's nothing. So
Yeah, and they're real easy if someone wants to get a hold of me and my team or put something together. I do have a team of a few licensed people that typically do these quotes, but you can email me directly. My email is Ronnie at insure719.com.
okay.
And then they can call or text my office line, which even if you text after hours, it comes to us, but it's 719-544-6404. And it's actually, if you go to like the kayak sponsor page, it's got a link on there or on my Facebook group. If you just kind of search for me,
Yeah.
and you can message me on Facebook personally. If you message me on Facebook, I'll kind of at least point you in the right direction and get all your contact information to get you taken care of.
Cool. Yeah, we'll link your number and contact info in the description
Okay.
below as well. But that's awesome. I think that covers the policy side of it.
Yeah.
Anything else that you can think of? I'll drop the screen out of here.
I don't think so. A lot of times there's kind of some stipulations on what you need. You don't need to be really licensed for the kayaks, so it's not we're not checking motor vehicle records or anything like that.
Yeah.
There is a small discount for being a previous owner of a boat or kayak. So that's one of the questions that we ask is really just if you have any experience. It's mainly on the motor side. If you've never owned a boat before, this is your first boat, you're probably a little higher risk because I think they charge you like 5% more. It's nothing
Yeah.
crazy, but um, definitely something that comes into play. We haven't had to deal with many claims on that side, but as many accidents that happened on the water in Colorado last year, it definitely became a talking point. We had so many people calling. I mean, and we're kind of gearing up now, kind of taking my team through the quoting and application process, just because it's not. I mean, Colorado, we don't have a ton of water activity like we do in other states. So
Right.
most of the year we're not doing boat and jet ski and kayak applications in the quotes, but and it's a little different from doing an auto. So just kind of going through that training, that way they're prepared to do it. Just one of those things is starting to spring. Everyone buying ATVs, boats, jet skis,
All the
travel trailers, all
toys.
that stuff. Yep,
All the
all the
toys.
wrecked vehicles.
Yeah.
All the wrecked vehicles coming out.
Yeah, that's another thing we didn't really talk about because we don't have trolling motors in our tournaments. But hey, if you do have a motor, you have to register it in Colorado, and it's simple. You get that stamp up on your the letters up on your on your hole, and then.
And you still don't have to do inspections, right?
Depending where you're at. So I think Pueblo has an exception for it for kayaks, but the state policy is that you do need an inspection. If you're on a trailer, I think you can do that the day before, and they'll just it's not like a zip tie, but basically it's a way on there that it's locked on. They know that you're not taking that off during the next day. But each of them will do it differently. But yeah, if you do
look over that in captain's meetings for each tournament. But
yeah, absolutely. So, but not a big deal. They are available for to use on the monthly tournaments, but just not on our live tournaments. So we really won't be messing with that as far as the tournament day stuff goes. So, but yeah, I think that about wraps it up. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and now our YouTube, where we're coming out of with the show. You can go to cokayakfishing.com. It has all of our tournament registration, sponsor memberships. When you sign up, there's a ton of sponsors that we covered in the last show, the member discounts there. It's the time of year where everyone's starting to buy everything for the year. So make sure you sign up, get member discounts, and then use those to save some money. And then, hey, we're a month away. April 15th and 16th is the first tournament at John Martin. I know we're excited to see everybody, but yeah, I think that wraps up the show today. Thanks for coming on, Ronnie. Appreciate having you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, and we will talk soon. Tight lines, everybody. We'll see you soon.